Is that my grass? Is she in my house? Like, how she know where I live? Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, welcome. I'm Mallory. Welcome to Storytime Saturdays. So Storytime Saturdays is a series I wanted to put together where I'm basically just doing my makeup and telling you guys a crazy story that has happened to me. Like today's story is very crazy. I mean, it's not every day somebody puts a spell on you. If you're interested in all things makeup and crazy stories, you might want to subscribe and keep watching. Y'all got y'all tea ready? Your teacup or your coffee cup? Get ready, sis. Buckle in. Okay, so for this story, I do have to give you a bit of backstory simply because I need you guys to understand why I did the things that I did in this situation that got me here. So let's take it back to 2013. So back in 2013, I worked at this men's salon, this men's grooming salon. And that's where I met this girl. Now I am giving everybody fake names, but I did write them all down so I could keep up, so you guys just try to keep up. So I met this girl, well, lady, because she was actually a lot older than I was at the time, like a good 15 years. Her name is Sky. We're going to call her Sky. So I met Sky at this salon, and she was actually one of the only ones who like introduced herself to me. You know, whenever you start a new job and it's awkward and weird as it is, and it's even more weird whenever no one is talking to you. But she introduced herself to me, and I thought at the time that she was my age because she looked really, really young. Like her skin looked good. She was really thin. She just looked young. And then come to find out she had a daughter that was like a teenager. I was like, that's weird. That's weird. You're doing something. For the most part, we were friends. We were cool. She only really fooled with like me and one other person. We both, our manager, we're gonna call her Jenny, we'll call her Jen. She and Sky really just did not get along at all. But I thought it was weird because I really liked Sky. Like I just felt like she was kind of misunderstood in a way. At some point, she ended up quitting and I got transferred to another shop on the other side of town. So we just really didn't keep in touch. Oh, and before I move forward, I do want to make mention that Sky, like, she really did not fool with a lot of people at that salon before she left, before she quit. There was a girl named Bree, let's just call them Stacy and Tracy, two stylists. She did not like them. I just didn't understand why she just hated everybody, but that really wasn't my business because, you know, she was cool with me. So I was like, well, you know, that's fine. So whatever. So fast forward, I'm managing a new salon right across the street from the old one, and this is a completely different company as well. So anytime my boss would go out of town these past few years, she's been having me look over like her duties, like things that she should be doing, because I have experience doing it, like interviewing and things like that. So whenever her application came through for my salon, well, it was actually for another location. I recognized her name because her name is actually pretty unique. So I recognized it and I was like, oh, hey, like I know her. So at this point, my boss was actually still back in town, but I was still getting the email. So whenever I got it, I said, hey, I know this girl. Like, I remember that she could cut good hair. I don't remember exactly why she left the company, but yeah, I know her basically. She was like, okay, well, you know, I'll call her for an interview. She was applying for another location. I want to say that again because she was not applying for my location. I don't like to hire people to work under me that I've been friends with before. I will always help anybody get a job, but it's just awkward because people don't, depending on how they met you, they don't see you in that role. So I just did not want to make my job harder by trying to manage someone who never knew me as their boss. Let's get to the interview. She comes in for an interview, and with our interviewing process at this company, you have to do a technical interview. So that means that you have to come in and do a haircut that we tell you, and you have to bring a model. In some cases we provide a model, which in this case we did because she said she couldn't find one. So we provided a model for her. Whenever she came in, I met her at the door and I was like, oh, hey, like, do you remember me? She was like, yeah, I remember you. We still work together. And immediately she starts telling me about why she left there. Like as she's walking in the, like not even in the door yet, she immediately starts telling me about why she left and how they treated her terribly and how they lied on her and made her seem like she was this crazy person, but really it was them. And like literally as we're walking in the door. So it's just kind of strange. And I was like, okay, well, let's just go inside and talk for a second. So we come in and we talk to her, and she's telling us that she felt like her previous boss, Jen, that we talked about earlier, that she was racist because she's from an island. Let's just say that she's from the Dominican Republic. She said she felt like she was racist, which I'm not going to speak to that because I didn't really know, but that's what she was saying about her, is that she was racist and that she just didn't like her because she was from that place. And yeah, it was just very odd. And I feel like maybe my boss, let's call my boss Nikki. So my boss Nikki, I feel like she must have been going through something at the time, because it kind of felt like she wasn't really present in that moment, because to me that's a huge red flag if someone's coming into your interview and immediately bashing in the last place that they worked at. There was just a few things that she was saying that were making me remember that I should not have even said I knew this girl, because before I left the last company, I was in leadership as well. So me and Jen actually had to work together a lot, and we had to talk. And there was an instance where we were talking about Sky and how they had to call the cops on her because she came in there to get her stuff, and it was just weird, like she was intimidating everyone, and they had to call the police. That totally slipped my mind because it had been so long. But as she's saying all this to me in the interview and saying it to my boss Nikki, I was just like, oh my god, I've made an egregious mistake. But again, I was thinking she was not coming to our location anyway. She was not coming to my location, so honestly this was going to be somebody else's problem. As terrible as it sounds, this was going to be somebody else's problem anyway. But yeah, I was trying to nip it in the bud before it went any further. So she goes on to do her haircut, and while she's doing her haircut, that gives me and my boss Nikki a time to talk. So while me and Nikki are talking, she's like, oh yeah, she seems okay, but then she was also saying like, oh, why would she say this and why would she say that, and I said, I know. And I said, hey, before we make any final decisions, I need to make a couple phone calls, because I told you I knew her, but I totally forgot about the situation where they had to call the cops on her. And she was like, what? And I said, yeah. I said, I'm so sorry, like I completely forgot about the situation, but I will call and get the details, and then like let's just put a pin in this first before we make any final decisions, just in case. I don't know the exact situation, but let me just get some information before we move forward. So she said okay. I said okay. I thought that we were on the same page, but as soon as she gets done with the haircut, the model was like, yeah, my haircut looks great. My boss was looking over, she was like, yeah, haircut looks great. And she was like, okay, well, like, we'll clean up and then we'll go in the back and talk. So we go in the back after I had clearly stated to this lady, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. We're not moving forward. Like, we need to put a pin in this, find out what happened first, and then we can make a decision. As soon as we get in the back, she says, oh, hey, she was like, oh, well, the job is yours if you want it. And I was like,
bombastic side eye.
Oh my gosh, like, girl, you didn't listen to a thing I just said. Oh my gosh. And so she was like, well, did you want this location? I know you know Malari. And she was like, yeah, this location is great. And I was like,
offensive.
Bombastic side eye, how dare you? No, ma'am. So essentially I'm just sitting there with a poker face. Literally I'm sitting there and I'm just like, oh shit. No, ma'am. Why are you doing this? Like, can you stop saying stuff? I'm just trying to, I'm literally trying to keep my poker face on. I'm so pissed. So before she leaves, my boss leaves, she has somewhere else to be, and I'm glad she did, because I would have given her an earful, like, ma'am, you did not listen to what it said. So whenever the girl's on her way out, she goes on to tell me the story about everybody who worked there and how they were so against her, and how a couple of the girls are from Louisiana and they do voodoo, and they put this weird water bottle in her locker because that place had lockers in the back, and how it smelled so bad, and she thinks that they were doing voodoo on her because they're from Louisiana, and everybody from Louisiana knows how to do voodoo. These are her words, not mine, because I don't think she remembered that I'm also from Louisiana. And all Louisiana girlies, if you know voodoo, let me know in the comment section below, because I do not, and I did not know that all of us are lumped together as being voodoo queens. I had no idea, but apparently we do. We all do voodoo. Girl, I'm just in shock that she was even hired, to be honest. And then for her to go on and then continue to tell me these stories, and like, you know, she doesn't like being stereotyped, but then she goes on to stereotype people from Louisiana, saying that they're all voodoo ladies or whatever. And then she said that they tried to stop her from getting a job like everywhere she went. It was just a strange interview day. So she goes on to start work on her first day, and anytime somebody starts at my salon, they have to set up their station next to mine for a while, just so I can keep an eye on them and, you know, make sure that they're adjusting well. I introduce them to everyone, and I just try to get everyone to, you know, just kind of, I mean, you don't have to be friends, we're all grown, but you know, you have to at least be cordial and be decent towards each other, because we all work in a salon. We all end up helping each other some way or another. So she's next to me, and I'm noticing that she had irritated one of the girls, because whenever she set up her stuff, she had crystals on her station. Like, I don't know what kind of crystals they were, but they were, you know, like an amethyst or whatever, you know, the crystals that the crystal girls like. So she put the crystals on her station, and this girl who's looking at her crystals also likes crystals, so she knows what they are. And she walks over to me, she's like, oh my gosh, like, I have this one too, and I really like your stuff that you have going on over here, just trying to be friendly, you know. And the girl looks at her and says, don't touch my crystals, it's bad, like if you touch my crystals they lose their energy or whatever. And the girl was like, damn, like, okay, my bad. And so she tells me about it later, because I had heard the interaction, but I didn't know what exactly was said. But she was kind of like, that was weird, like, I know not to touch people's crystals, I wasn't touching them, I was literally just looking and telling her, like, you know, hey, I have the same stuff, trying to bond with the damn girl. And she's like mad about her looking at her stuff. So I was like, wow, that's weird and suspicious. So that was red flag number one. She's already mad about something that didn't even happen to her. For me though, that was kind of good to know, because I did not know that about the crystal. So if you didn't know either, if you see a crystal that's on somebody's stuff, don't touch it, girl. That's not your business. Let their crystals be. And the girl who was like looking at her stuff, she said that she had on an evil eye bracelet or necklace or something, and it broke that same day. So the story is that if you have an evil eye piece of jewelry on and it breaks, you throw it away, because I don't know, I guess it's absorbed all the evil in the room. I'm not exactly sure how the saying goes, but yeah, if I can find something, I'll put it over here so we can see it, so we can know what we're talking about. But yeah, she said it broke, so she threw it away. She was like, I just don't know, like, something's going on. So I was like, oh shit, like, that's not good. And so that was red flag number two. I was like, damn, her jewelry breaking because this girl's crazy, like, Jesus. So she was kind of rough with the clients too, which was insane. Like, she was like whipping their chairs around like left and right like this, and I was just like, so I'm like right next to her, and at one point she had swung a guy's chair around so hard that like he was leaning back, he was getting his beard trim, and his head like hit the shampoo bowl, like the headrest that his head was on, and hit the shampoo bowl, because that's how close we are to the bowls. And I was just like, I said, so maybe be less rough. And even later I told her, I said, hey, like, you know, you're kind of rough with the clients, maybe ease up a little bit. It looks like it hurts, you know, it looks like it hurts them, because she was like rough all the time. It wasn't just whipping their chair around, it was like anything she did, it just looked like it hurt. And so she said, well, you know, sometimes it looks like it hurts, but it really doesn't. And I said, well, do you ask them if they're okay? And she said, yeah, I asked them. And I was like, okay, like, I haven't heard you ask them, but okay, if that's what you say. She actually eased up the next couple days. And so for their first week or two, I don't normally leave them alone, but with this girl, I left her by herself. I think it was like her 7th day. So she had been there for like a full week. She was finally starting to be more gentle with the client. She wasn't beating them up. And so I was like, okay, well, she's getting better, so maybe she just needed me to say something to her. Now she's good, I can take a day off. So I take my day off, but I had this girl, she was sort of like my assistant, So I told her, you know, keep an eye on her. If anything looks weird, just let me know and I'll talk to her, or I'll just come up here if I need to, because I don't live that far away from work. So it would have been inconvenient, but not too inconvenient. Like, it would have been fine. So the day comes where Sky's working by herself. She doesn't have me right next to her to tell her anything. She should be good, right? No. So I get a call from the girl who's sort of like my assistant. We're gonna call her Jackie. So I get a call from Jackie, and Jackie says, hey, we have a complaint. Sky was doing this client and one of the other stylists, we'll call her Sam. So Sam heard Sky and her client going back and forth. They were arguing about the haircut. The guy said, you just need to stop cutting my hair. And she said, no, you're gonna let me finish it. And I was in shock, literally in shock. So I told Jackie, I said, okay, you know, give me the guy's phone number. I'll give him a call, obviously comp the haircut, and tell Sky to put her stuff down, don't take another client, and to call me. So she said, okay. So then she texted me, and she's like, hey, she just took another client. And I'm like, how is she still taking clients? So I said, okay, well, this buys me time. Let me call my boss, Nikki. But first I called the client. The client tells me that Sky was rough with him. She did not cut his hair or anything like what he wanted. Then proceeded to argue back and forth with him about what he wanted and what he didn't want. And just, I mean, anything you can think about a haircut experience that you don't want, that's what she gave him. What a nightmare. No, I give him a bunch of apologies, and, you know, I make the situation right with him. But then I go on to call my boss, Nikki, telling her the situation, and her first response was, oh, hell no. And I said, yeah, oh, hell no, it was right. She was like, did you ever find out what happened at the last job whenever the police were called? So I was like, no, but let me find out right now. So I call Bree, who used to work with us at our last place. I call her and I'm like, hey, I don't know if you knew that I was, you know, working basically down the street. I said, you know, Sky is working over here now. I couldn't remember why it was that y'all, you know, called the police on her whenever she left, but like, can you tell me a little bit about that? So she does. She tells me. She goes on to tell me that whenever she left, she was really upset at Jenny, our old boss. So whenever she left, they had already packed up her stuff and had it at the front waiting on her for her to pick it up, because they were just like, yeah, you just stop here, don't go to the back, you don't work here no more, here's your stuff, get on. But whenever she went there to pick up her stuff, she was not accepting that. She was like, no. So she went back to the back room and she made sure that all her stuff was packed up. She made sure that they packed up all, like, that they got everything, I guess. I'm assuming that's what she was doing. But she went to the back and then she was staring at everyone, including Bree, including Jen, including the other two girls. I can't remember what we named them, Stacy and Tracy, staring all of them down. And she said that it was just a very eerie look and like very sinister. Like, they were like legit concerned, like, is she okay? Because not only was it weird, but it was low-key scary for them. Like, they were like, what the fuck? Like, ma'am, like, just get your stuff and go. Like, you have everything. But they said she just stood at the front and stared at them. And they even told her, like, hey, if you don't just go, we're gonna call the police. And she just stood there and let them. And I'm like, you know, when you wrong and when you loud and wrong, I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Because no matter how much you don't like people at a job, like, you're just gonna stand there and wait for the police to come? I don't know. Like, at first I was kind of like, well, what did y'all do to her? But now I'm just like, okay, girl, low-key crazy. So I'm getting all this information from her, and then I was like, oh, well, you know, thanks for telling me. And then she goes on to tell me about this water bottle. You remember the voodoo water bottle that I told you about earlier, or about the voodoo girls? So I don't remember if I said that actually. There was a water bottle that Sky had mentioned to me before she started that had like garlic or something in it. It was really smelly apparently, but she said that someone put it in her stuff, like in her locker or in her bag or something. It was really smelly, but then they blamed it on her, that it was hers. But she said no, it was theirs, it was their voodoo magic, whatever, it wasn't mine, had nothing to do with me. But then Bree comes back and she tells me that it was actually Sky's, and that Sky would bring in stuff like that all the time. So she would put on smelly perfumes and stuff, which I'm assuming means that it was more natural because she does like more essential oils and things like that. So I'm guessing that that's what the smell was coming from, but Brie was saying no, it was like putrid smell, like it was egregious, it was stinky. Those are my words, not hers, but she was basically just like, no, she just smelled terrible. And we had a conversation with her about it, like, you know, the smell, like the clients were complaining, and she was big mad about it. Like, girl, what do you want us to do? The clients are complaining. But the thing that stood out to me the most was that they had to call the cops on her just because she wouldn't just get her things and leave. That was extremely concerning for me, considering the fact that whenever you have a client that is so upset with you that he's basically saying we're never coming back to this company, especially whenever you first start and it's about things that I've already told you about, like don't be rough with the clients, be nice, like little things that you should already know as a hairstylist. Can't actually work here if you can't actually do the job. Like the clients don't want you to do their hair, then you can't work for us. It's as simple as that. It's unfortunate because I understand that people have bad days, but really in customer service you're not really allowed to have a bad day. You're just not, especially whenever you first start. Like, girl, show us you can handle this. Like, this was her first full week. Like, girl, there's been a lot of issues happening here. So I thank Brie for the tea time, and I go ahead and call my boss, Nikki, and I'm relaying the information. And by this time she had also talked to that client. I forgot to mention that. She was like, I'm just going to talk to the client myself too, so that I can hear what he, you know, I want to hear it firsthand, his experience. So she calls him while I'm on the phone with Brie. I guess we finished up about the same time. She was like, yeah, I was just about to call you. She said, yeah, we need to basically just get her out of our building. And while she's telling me that, she says that the girl also lied on her application because she had worked for us before at a different location, but on that area where it says that, she had put no. So I'm not sure if you knew this, but if you lie on an application, you can be fired at any point for lying on an application. And the reason why she was terminated before is for the exact same reason. Clients did not like her. She was rough with them. Same old, same old. So because of that, we had already decided, you know, we're gonna let her go. So by the time Sky calls me, I tell her, you know, go ahead and pack up your stuff, and you know, basically you're done for the day. Whenever we terminate somebody, we have to run it up the flagpole first, no matter what. So that's what we were waiting on. That's why I didn't just go ahead and tell the girl that she was terminated immediately, because we still were waiting on a response from one person that we have to go ahead and pull the trigger. But she said, well, is this gonna, and I told her the reason why, and I told her about the client, and she said, well, is this gonna be a big deal? Because if it is, I don't want to be charged for these tools, because there's certain things that we give people whenever they first start with us, and it comes out of your check later. So I said, well, you know, go ahead and just leave it there, and I'll make sure that you're not charged for it. So yeah, she's calling me. She's obviously agitated, but I'm telling her, you know, it just doesn't look good whenever we have a complaint this bad from a client, especially on your first week. Like, it just doesn't look good. And it's about things that I've already talked to you about, like being nice to people, stop being rough with them, don't swing their chair around, like things like that. So obviously she's upset. And so she's like, well, I'm just gonna take my stuff out of here. And I said, okay, well, you know, I'll give you a call in a little while. I'm just waiting on the call back. Let me give you a call in a little while. So while I'm waiting on the call, she starts texting me like crazy stuff. Like, she starts saying that I'm acting Hollywood, for one. I'm like, girl, how am I acting Hollywood? And we work in a salon. Simply all I'm doing is my job, which is exactly why I said before that I don't like to hire people that have been working side by side with me before in previous places, because they don't see you as their boss. And whenever, I guess, you know, you do have to step into your role, then they think, oh, you're acting Hollywood. Girl, I was just doing my job. Literally, that's all I wanted to do. Like, you're the one that made it hard. Because after I talked to her about not being rough with the clients, I was like, okay, maybe she'll be fine. Maybe this could work. Like, who cares if no one else likes her? Like, this is fine. It's fine. Some people are just loners, and I get that. You don't have to get along with everyone. It's fine. That night, she basically tells me that, well, she's not coming back regardless of what decision we decide to make, so she quit. So I said, well, you know, sorry it didn't work out here, but this is just what it is. And then she asked me about when she could come get her check, and I said, well, your check is not going to be here until like the end of the week, and I'll text you and let you know whenever it gets here. So then she proceeds to text me, and she goes on to say that the salon that we worked at treated her terrible before. We're doing the same thing now. And she's like, yeah, I did work at another location, which I was already like, you know, I knew that, girl. Knew it after the fact, but I knew that now. It's going on and on. And then the following day, I didn't respond to her because I'm like, okay, at this point, you don't work for us anymore. You're not coming back. You know, what do I need to say at this point? There's nothing I can say. So the next morning, I get a text from her, and I got a little scared at first because it was summertime whenever this happened, and my grass was looking kind of dingy. And so she sent me a picture of this dingy looking grass with some twigs in it, and I was like, is that my grass? Is she in my house? Like, how's she know where I live? That was my immediate thought, but coming to find out, that's not what it was. That would have been wild. That would have been wild if she had come to my house and made her spell. But she sends me a picture of these twigs in the grass, and then she sends me a screenshot of this message that says, thank you, Sky. Like, it says her name for, I can't remember the exact words, for asking for this special wish spell. And then it goes on to say, like, what the spell, like, when they're going to cast the spell, and, you know, what results she should get out of it. And they're also going to cast her happiness spell or something. And just some weird stuff. Like, as soon as I saw the word spell, I didn't even finish reading it. I literally just read it today so that I could insert it here so you guys could see the spell. But yeah, I stopped reading because I said, oh no. I ordered some sage on Amazon, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna sage the building, sage myself, and hopefully her special wish wasn't nothing crazy towards me. I don't really understand what's going on, because y'all, I truly did not wish this girl any ill will. It just came down to that because of her track record and the way that she was behaving in the salon. I mean, could you imagine your boyfriend, husband, child, or simply yourself going in for a service and getting like manhandled the entire experience? Like, literally someone's yanking you around and pulling your hair and cutting your hair half the length that you wanted and arguing with you about the fact that you're getting what I'm telling you you're gonna get. Like, could you imagine? Absolutely not. That's truly what it came down to. And the fact that she lied on her application, which already lets me know that if you lie about working somewhere, it didn't end well for you there. That's what it boils down to. It just did not end well for you there, and that's exactly what happened with this girl. It did not end well for her at the previous location that she worked at, so she decided to come and work somewhere new and act like she had never been with us before. And it was just like, girl, the flags they're red. There were definitely a few weird months after this girl quit, which is why I'm thinking maybe the spell, maybe her special wish was something against me and not just a great spell for her. I'm not sure. I had a bunch of people quitting left and right. I had a lot of turnover for a while, so for weird reasons too. Like, one girl, because she kept saying that there were 2 girls working there that were in the cartel that were after her. That's definitely going to be a story time a StoryTime Saturday story, because that woman is crazy as well. And there was a girl who had a bunch of pentagrams everywhere. She was a witch too, apparently. She had a witch book, and don't really know what her deal was, but she immediately switched up, started acting weird too. So I'm not really sure. It's all behind me now. I bought some sage from Amazon. I'll link it down below if you guys need some new sage, because it definitely worked. The weirdness stopped for a while. Every now and then I get a little bit more weird, but it's not anything like it was. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this story time. If you are not already subscribed, make sure that you subscribe to my channel with your bell notifications on, and be on the lookout for next Saturday's story time. Thank you guys so much for watching, and you'll see my face in the next one.